slow-moving storms can do a lot of damage. But that's always been the case. The 1935 hurricane in Miami, Camille in 1969, Andrew in 1992. The list goes on. Of course, if you went back 500 years, you'd find a whole bunch of other storms that nobody's ever heard of, because this is all part of the process, right?
Yeah, it is. In fact, some of the biggest hurricanes, we don't know exactly how big, but some of the biggest ones were in the late 1700s, destroyed the Spanish Armada. Historically, there have been just giant storms. And what's ironic, Steve, I was in the process last week, I was starting to write a commentary about how quiet this hurricane season has been this year. I mean, it's been extraordinarily quiet, despite all of these climate alarmist arguments that, they're increasing in number, they're increasing in intensity. So I decided after this storm came up, I'm going to table that particular op-ed, especially since I'm personally affected by it. But you're right, hurricanes.
But that doesn't make you wrong.
It
doesn't make you wrong, right? The 1930s, the 1950s, these were very busy hurricane seasons. That they had several major hurricanes hit the U.S., 3 and 4 in a couple of years of the 1950s. You know, and you look back, the deadliest hurricane in American history happened in Galveston, Texas. The year was 1900. As many as 12,000 people died. But a lot of the storms back then, first of all, we couldn't measure them the way we do now. We didn't have planes that could drop into the eye. We didn't have all of this satellite surveillance. We have a lot more information now, so we also record a lot more EF0 tornadoes, for example, which will be spawned by this storm. EF0s and EF1s that oftentimes were missed back in the 40s and 50s. We catch all of those now. So it looks like the number of tornadoes is up, but really a very quiet tornado season again this year in America, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, tornadoes definitely. The big ones have been in decline for sure. Especially, we know that for a fact since the beginning of the Doppler radar, when that was fully developed. They capture now every tornado that forms and touches down. We know that. It's the long term, going back to the 30s, the 20s, the late 1800s. A lot of these tornadoes just touched down. Nobody knew it. You know, touched some godforsaken field in Kansas or a mountain in Colorado. They didn't know about it. So what NOAA has recommended is using the biggest ones, F3, F4, F5 tornadoes. And they can take that back to the 1950s. And we see that for sure there's been a decline. When we talk about hurricanes, also NOAA says we should, for long-term hurricane charting, we should just use landfalling hurricanes in the United States. Because they said even back in the 1800s, if a hurricane made landfall somewhere on the Gulf Coast or on the eastern seaboard, they would know about it. So we're able to capture those, and those have definitely been in decline. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But again, we have Amy Klobuchar that just now said, today she said, well, if you want to stop the hurricanes, you need to vote for the Democrats. So I guess I realize
I don't know we're supposed to take that seriously, but apparently they think we are.